Hey, team players, we are quickly becoming the Superflex destination of YouTube. We thank you all for coming to us, becoming one of the top 150 shops looking for strategy of how to win the Superflex League. Again, today we're going to be doing an Underdog. There's so much value here if you play Underdog correctly. Let's go out, let's win some leagues, and you're going to see some amazing strategies, some amazing results, and let's Superflex this up. So here we are. Welcome, everybody. So excited to have you here. Getting Bob on screen would always be a good thing. Pushing the right buttons is hard sometimes, guys. Producing shows is not as easy as it looks.
Joe, I noticed you're kind of, your voice is kind of garbling a little bit. So
that's because I got some voice issues over here.
Okay. All right. No. I'm saying your camera, like it's hard to hear you sometimes.
Oh, that ain't good. Let's see if we're on the right footage here. But nonetheless.
But anyway, here we are. We got a Superflex loaded up for everybody today. A couple of pieces of news that I think that would be important to know about is, Demarcus Robinson is going to get suspended for 3 games somewhere in the season. And I think that when we look at San Francisco wide receivers, also with the potentiality of Ayuk maybe getting traded, he doesn't seem to want to be in San Francisco anymore. I think that opens a room for maybe Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall to climb up boards just a little bit. So just some things to be aware of. And for anybody watching that usually watches us doing Superflex right now, you'll see Joe has the 8-hole. I have the 10-hole. As always, on air, I never get anything higher than an 8. So that is a little bit maddening, a little bit annoying. So, yeah, we're in this room together. Anybody that wants to jump in on the next one, we'll definitely be doing another one after this.
Sure will be.
Talking a little bit about the strategies we're going to be using. I did get a couple of interesting teams this weekend that are, or not this weekend, yesterday, that I am willing to share about after our first live, and we'll see how things shake down. Jamar there going 9 is interesting enough for me.
Well, you know me, I'm a big running back guy, and also when you look at these super flexes, running backs dry up incredibly quickly. I mean, it's just the way that it is. So being able to snag one of them early is just, to me, the value of where we're at here.
Yeah, I mean, there is a good amount of value in taking 2, maybe even 3 running backs early. When we look at Superflex, one of the things that needs to be mentioned is that, and we say this all the time, but I think if you go in and you read articles and you're just researching a little bit more, that you don't always need a quarterback in these first 2 rounds. And why I say this and why I've been saying it all the time, and we do shows here and there where we get 2 quarterback builds pretty early, 1 quarterback build somewhere in there as well. But you're losing out on a lot of value. And a lot of the times these best ball drafts, when it comes down to it, it's about opportunity cost and it's about value. So just taking a look at the board right now, you can see the guy in the 9-hole. That's not me, either me or Joe, going Jamar and J-Jeff. And rarely do I see a Jamar J-Jeff team. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but rarely do I see it. And the combination is worth it to the point like this. So coming around in the 3rd and 4th round, they might build JJ McCarthy to get the stack on Justin Jefferson. But honestly speaking, building a running back there and building a quarterback in the next round probably wouldn't hurt them at all, knowing that they have their wide receiver room basically cornered off. And then the next 3 rounds, they're going to be going after different positions of value. Looking at pick 11 here, going after two really high-profile running backs that may or may not get hurt this year, and then coming back around at 35 and 34 and getting some other skill position players to build off of. Looking at the board as we have it right now, Joe, I have seen Justin Fields, Drake May. I've done drafts where Drake May has fallen all the way to the end of the third round.
Why did Patrick Mahomes go
getting
second?
him, it's an unusual. It's the reason why Jamar fell all the way to 9. A Patrick Mahomes build at 2 doesn't make any sense. That's a rook move.
Doesn't.
And I think that they're going to be paying for that because the value of Mahomes, Fields, and Achane just
they could have built that same lineup in the 8th spot, and they wasted the. You don't get. Look
you
at
don't
us.
Get the 2 spot often.
Front of 7. We've always been caught on this side of the line. Oh, it's crazy.
It's a fact. It's a fact.
It's enviable. It's enviable.
Yeah, and I've seen Michael Penix get built.
Even though Bob,
well.
like when you play poker with your boys week in and week out, you kind of know what they're feeling, what they're liking, what their tells are. But they're still trying to beat you, and we're still trying to beat them. The same thing is going down with Bob and I. There is zero collusion. I know for a fact if I wouldn't have taken Bucky there, I wasn't getting Bucky past 2 Bob picks. Like, it was not happening. Now, I risked the quarterback I'm going to take here unless Bob snags him off me. But I'd rather have Bucky than a quarterback. And that's so contrary to Superflex mentality. Because you get to put that super flex in your flex lineup. But as we said before, this is now the era of quarterbacks where you're at best middle of the road because there's only 5 elite ones. The rest of them are all like tight ends to a certain degree. They could be anywhere on this map.
Now it's going to start to dry up soon. I think once you hit the same category of your Jared Goffs, your Jordan Loves. I think that those are, and I've built teams with Jordan Love. I've built teams with Bryce Young, and I'll show you a couple of those teams a little bit later. But this build specifically that I have going on, one of the things that I have built before is game stacks with Green Bay and Baltimore. But I've never built in Josh Jacobs and Derrick Henry. I think that Josh Jacobs and Derrick Henry can get some really nice numbers over the course of the year. They have an interesting correlation in week 17. And as we go through the schedule, Jonathan Taylor, I believe they play Jacksonville, week 17 as well. So I'm trying to get a little bit of that correlation built into these lineups, knowing that the quarterbacks, I'm going to have to take some gross ones. And I'm not opposed to that, knowing that I have a very clear, like Jordan Love, I was going to take him, but I just built him in a lineup just recently with like similar combination. So I decided not to go in that direction here. It's going to like that. You can see from the number 1 pick here, guys, is Josh Allen, Drake May, and Michael Penix. Going 3 quarterbacks from the number 1, 2, 3, or 4 position, you are losing out on so much value because here's the thing. Once you get down to Michael Penix and Drake May, they both can spike 25-point-plus weeks, but so can the running backs that you could have taken at that certain spot.
And the running backs be more consistent.
And Drake May and Michael Penix are basically fighting over 1 spot on your roster. So you can build that way, and that's fine. And maybe this person's building like a lot of different teams right now. And that's going to be you're going to find different ways to build. It's not going to be nice, but it's there. You can build it. All right. Gross.
Gross it up, baby. Yeah, you don't have a nice quarterback left. I mean, you're looking at Flacco or Rodgers. Oh, we're just not doing quarterbacks, are we, Bob? Yeah, I mean, I would have taken Geno there, Bob.
I have taken Geno. I've taken Geno quite a few times recently. So
yeah, mentality difference. I don't care about recently. I only care about the roster that is in front of my face. How can I make it the best possible roster? And it's a different mindset. You remember the past, Bob. I forget the past. That's why they invented alcohol. That's how we roll.
Oh, that's funny.
Where's my boy family to back me up on that? You'll catch that one on the replay. You'll love that. Dude, you still didn't take a quarterback. What are you
I told
doing?
you I'm pushing it. I told you I'm pushing it. I told you I'm pushing it.
You push it real good.
Like I said,
my nice little stack, arguably the best Seattle stack out there.
I don't see. Here's the thing.
Seattle stack.
Like I said, Joe, I don't see any value in Aaron Rodgers right there. I know I don't have a starting quarterback yet, but people drafted Aaron Rodgers as like a quarterback in like round 10, like a while ago. I honestly don't see taking him in the 6th round over a guy like Adams, where Adams can have. Right now, I'm sitting here with 3 wide receivers and 3 running backs that, quite frankly, will always be in my starting lineup. Always.
Oh yeah.
And they have a better chance to spike big weeks, I think, for touchdown potential. Like, I could have taken Tyreek there. I could have taken Kamara there. I have done builds where I've built 4 running backs, and I don't necessarily have a problem with that. Bones, what's happening, man? Just doing a super flex draft here. You're going to see I'm going very unconventional. No quarterback yet through 6 rounds. Like I said, once you get to this tier in the 3rd round of all of those quarterbacks, you kind of just got to pick one you love. And if you really don't love any and you're trying to max it, you can go with a couple different strategies. It definitely is not for the weak of heart. Definitely not for the weak of heart. This is a super flex. Yeah. And if you're going like late quarterbacks, like there is a bunch of dudes that are present and they might play a full season. They might not. It is what it is.
Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. Are you lining them both up?
I mean, I could. Probably won't, but I could.
Should though.
Now, like, here's the deal, guys. Like,
so I didn't take Monty because I have
Richardson.
Maybe I should.
Anthony Richardson is disgusting as well. But here's the deal. When it comes to quarterbacks, again, like we've said, if you don't have the top tier quarterbacks for rushing potential, what's going to happen is that you're going to get a group of quarterbacks that are basically as good as a second wide receiver's numbers can be. Yes, they have more of a capability to spike up to like 20, 25 points. But in the long run, is it something you want to deal with? I don't see a problem with it necessarily. Like, if this guy goes Anthony Richardson here, I'll just take Russell Wilson, not losing out on so much value in this case.
You get Richardson, you know, you get a
I told you guys I was going to do something crazy this episode. Like, when we were talking the last week, doing something super crazy is, I mean, it's worth it to do that if you're planning on even coming close to max, getting some different values in your lineup. So, like, looking at my lineup, Joe, like, I've got CD and Terry. I've got CD and Terry, which gives me a correlation week 17. Henry and Jacobs in a matchup that could be weather related. And then I got JT, and then, the 2 Indy quarterbacks. I plan on taking an Indy wide receiver somewhere along the lines here. And then I've got Devontae Adams, which I think is one of the best values here.
Dude, you got your entire question isn't about the super flex itself, because your super flex is going to be one of those studs. It's going to be about your starting quarterback. That's your risk is on their body.
I mean, like, it's an unusual problem to have. It's not a blessing by any means. Don't get me wrong. But I think it's something that's worth an experiment every once in a while. So Bones asks, curious if you guys are slightly higher on Rodgers being from Pittsburgh yourself. I think I'm slightly higher optimistic on Patriots players and teams this year being from Boston. So Bones, I am not optimistic whatsoever about Aaron Rodgers.
He's hated Aaron Rodgers for 42 years.
I am super biased against Aaron Rodgers. Just from past Shadur in the 9th round. That's terrible value. Why?
Sure
Why
is.
would you do that? Gross. But when you look at it and you ask yourself and you say, hey, will Aaron Rodgers have a good season? It is really highly plausible that he does. He's been a football player that is capable of, great seasons and a Hall of Famer. And you got to ask yourself and say, what will this look like come week 7? So will the Steelers themselves be in position to keep winning games come, week 7, week 8? And I think that Rodgers meshes really well with certain players and then not well with other players. So like DK Metcalf is a great purchase by the Steelers, but do I think that DK Metcalf and Aaron Rodgers will hit it off? I'm not 100% sure about that, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that the running game has a lot of room to grow, and Caleb Johnson will be good, and Jaylen Warren should be good. But the defense, I think, was one of the biggest problems last year for them when it should have been better, and it just wasn't as good as it should have been. And then the wide receiver situation sucked most of the year. Pickens was dropping catches or getting penalized and all this stuff. And I just don't think that Aaron Rodgers is enough to put the Steelers in a situation to be, playoff to compete competitively once playoffs roll around. I don't think that the team is built in a structure that it's going to be good for Aaron Rodgers come if the Steelers make the playoffs. I just don't think this iteration of the Steelers is like, when we talk about bridge quarterbacks, like what are you even bridging when you come to Aaron Rodgers? Like, you know what I mean, Joe? Like, what are the Steelers trying to bridge? Just don't go out and buy him and lose a couple games. But the fact that the Steelers are that 8-8 type of mentality of a team, like they want to win, but at the same point in time, like, was it worth it to bring in Aaron Rodgers? We'll see. I just don't necessarily see it.
Rodgers is just, straight up, the Rodgers here, he's going to be, regardless of how much Bob doesn't like him, he is still going to be the best quarterback we have had since Ben's elbow surgery. That's a fact. He's better than a lot of the garbage we've been trucking out there. And that's just the way that it is.
Bones. I do want to touch on this question from Review after I make my next couple of picks here. So Review, I'll get you on that in a moment. So like here's where I kind of sit on this Review, is that we do more recently over the past couple of weeks, we've been doing a lot of Superflex drafting. And I think that when it comes to Superflex drafting, that we're just kind of trying to see a couple of different ways of thinking about fantasy football. It kind of gets you in a better headspace for when you're doing your best ball manias and things like that. Here's the thing to know is that like in all of these tournaments that you do, especially best ball mania, the puppies, the schnauzers, the stuff on DraftKings, what we want to be like aware of is that each one has kind of like a good point in time to enter into the drafts. And I think with Best Ball Mania, you want to clean up, like we're talking about like closing line value, right? Is that I think that doing a couple Best Ball Manias now or doing a couple of the schnauzers like I have under my belt right now is good. And we'll be doing those occasionally over the course of the offseason. We wanted to roll in a couple of super flexes today. Next week we might
love the super flex content, guys.
Yeah, and some probably next Monday we'll roll in a couple weekly winners to talk about the strategies for weekly winners. So just to keep it in mind that every tournament has money attached to it. So like if you don't want to diversify, and I'm not saying that that's what you're saying, Review. But if you want to diversify a little bit and get your portfolio up in a couple of tournaments, it's good to run a couple, the schnauzers, the corgis, the pit bulls, all that stuff, just to kind of widen your horizon and see what people are thinking about in terms of, player pools. I like these puppy but super flexes. They're $5. It's an easy tournament to max if you can get them all in there. And it gives you kind of a way of viewing certain players. Like, what we're seeing now is basically what you'd be seeing in the 10th, 11th, 9th, 10th, and 11th rounds minus quarterbacks, right, Joe? Is that like all of the tournament, like all the Superflex does is kind of push those quarterbacks up to the top of the board. But it's good to think about how people are thinking about values of certain players.
I disagree with that sentence. It does more than just push the quarterbacks up the board.
It pushes running backs up the board,
destroy their teams trying to force quarterbacks up the board. Like when we look at this draft we're in here right now, I mean, look at these teams that have 3+ quarterbacks through 4 rounds. You're literally wasting a starting spot in your first 3 picks. You cannot have that in any other format unless you're stupid enough and drunk one day and you draft 2 quarterbacks on the turn like I did when I took Allen and Hurts because I didn't know because I messed it up. Don't draft and don't drink and draft, guys. Just don't drink and draft. But at any rate, the point is that so many of these teams are wasted, and we're getting massive competitive advantages by taking, again, Sam Darnold versus Caleb Williams ain't going to be that difference. Remember last year when we're like, when is Kyler Murray ever going to see the top 5 and not the bottom 50 again? It was half the season. He goes in the second round in this. Getting Sam Darnold is the same value essentially. 4 rounds later, the team is so much better. If you're not going with the flow, you can exploit a super draft.
And review in reference to what you were saying too. You can take a look at our channel, and we have a bunch of DraftKings drafts that we drafted throughout the last several weeks too. We've drafted some regular Underdog Best Ball Manias when the Underdog Best Ball Mania tournament came out. So you can take a look at those and see our thinking about that. But rest assured, we will be doing we're doing drafts every Monday and Wednesday throughout the all season. So just keep your head on a swivel.
And they'll pick up as we get the other side of the 4th of July as well. It's still early in the season. Let's be real. We haven't even done our Scott Fishman
like
yet.
I said, when it comes Scott Fishbowl, yeah. When it comes to closing line value, I think that's an important thing to think about in a lot of these tournaments. Players that people don't love right now are players to kind of buy into, honestly, if I'm telling the truth. Like, for example, a guy like Jack Beck is not getting any love, in terms of news. Dante Thornton Jr. is getting more love, which means that value of Beck is that 169 ADP has fallen a little bit from where it was at just recently. And I think that when we look at Beck specifically, and Dante Thornton's value is going to start to climb just a little bit. And right now you're buying probably at the tip of where his value would be. And you might want to wait a little bit to draft him again and maybe catch the falling value of Beck. Every tournament is going to have something like that. You're welcome, Review. Absolutely. We always take the time to answer every single question here.
Yes, we do. And once we get into the regular season, guys, we get deep.
When it comes to Caleb Johnson, I really love Caleb Johnson. I really think that his skill set fits well in the mentality that Pittsburgh has always preferred to build. Do I think that the Steelers will have a successful running game this year? I think the jury's still out on it. I like Caleb Johnson as a player.
I just want to say that outright. I am on the bus that they will.
And I'm willing. Yeah, and I'm willing. I have taken – this isn't – like, we've done so many tournaments so far that I have taken Caleb Johnson, in probably like 10% of the tournaments that we've done, especially the early best ball tournaments with Caleb Johnson was having great closing line value in terms of where the other rookies were positioned against him. And I think that when all said and done, that it's going to be a good enough year for Caleb Johnson to return value as a fantasy player and as just as a player in general. I think that he has good. I think that he has a good season.
Doing drafts before free
I don't know.
Started was really fun. I do want to say that it was really fun. Well,
look
at that Wandale Robinson reach. That's like that guy knew it wasn't going to come back to him.
Oh, you're talking Jack Beck?
Show here.
Taking the boy.
Well, Bob, you make it. The Raiders number. I have both the Raiders receivers, and the reason for that is, at some point, the rookie wall hits even the best rookie phenom ever, and the other part is, look at their division. They're in a shootout-based division. Vegas is going to throw the ball.
I mean, yeah, I over the last couple of days, I've been taking Geno with Jacoby or Beck or Johnson. I've even taken him with Bowers. And what you got to know about these stacks is everybody's building stacks, guys. So like we wanna try to get as different as we can with our other guys that are not within our stack. So you're gonna see me here take Alec Pierce. He's a part of my stack. I own. This isn't the craziest Indianapolis team that I own. I do have one with Pittman, Downs, and Pierce with Richardson. But I see value returning on Indianapolis because when I look at how cheap they are, and I look at how top heavy my team is from a different perspective, like I'm willing to take a gamble on a team that nobody wants to take a gamble on. Let's face it. Like, is it going to hurt me? Probably, but one out of the 150 drafts that that you might do, it's not bad to take a gamble. These types of gambles are what could pay off. Because looking at the team that I have right now, so my quarterback room is shit. Like, it's absolute shit. And you're like, well, this is a super flex. It shouldn't be shit. But then you look at the rest of the top heavy part of the team. Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, CeeDee Lamb, Terry McLaurin, Devontae Adams. These guys, I mean, with the exception of maybe Terry McLaurin, should all be plus 20 points a week, plus 18 points a week. And I think that's going to be just enough to overcome, a very lackluster and weird team that's being constructed right here.
That's a good way to describe what you're doing over there, Bob. There's no way to do that. So obviously,
when you look at Brock Bowers,
you guys have figured out that both Bob and I are drafting. And as I said in the beginning of the show, this is one of these things where we're not throwing each other bones or trying to help each other out. We're literally trying to make our best teams possible with the mindset of what we do when we're live. We always want it to be good content, showing things in a little bit of a different perspective. And Bob is showing you what it's like if you don't take a quarterback. And he made a very strong
and guys, let's face it, it's very
produced quarterback. I mean, that's it.
It's very gross. And by all means, it's not a blessing. But again, like when we look at teams that have the chance to it, I have to beat a team with Josh Allen, guys. I have to beat a team with Jalen Hurts. So I got to find a way to do that. That's not through the quarterback because, does Daniel Jones have a chance to get 0 points? Yeah. Daniel Jones does have a chance to get 0 points. And everybody else does as well. I mean, like, zeros can be across the board. But I'm confident to say that, like, building a little bit differently in the long run, it can pay out. It's scary. It's not sexy to not take quarterbacks in those first couple of rounds. It will throw family into a fit when he joins in and watches. But again, this is just one way to do it. Like the next draft we do, I might take 3 in the third, fourth, and fifth round. I could do that. I could take 2. But having some diversity in your lineups is never truly a bad thing. The reason I took Roman Wilson there is just like he could be Aaron Rodgers' guy. Steelers might go out and get Alan Lazard, which totally blows up Aaron Rodgers. But Roman Wilson.
No, I think Alan Lazard, assuming he doesn't move, he's the number 2 on his team. Lazard is the number 2 on the Jets. It's not a good team, but it's still number 2.
But I do want to talk about Brock Bowers as we wind down this draft before we hop into another one. I do want to talk about Bowers. Oh yeah, you did take Alan Lazard. Yeah. So Brock Bowers to me is such a player that has a trajectory that has a lofty trajectory that a couple things have to go right. So number one, we talked about this a lot, Bones, and it specifically speaks to tight ends. So like, here's the thing. If I'm in Best Ball Mania or I'm in Superflex or I'm in the puppy or whatnot, and I take Brock Bowers in the first round, one of the things that I am thinking that is going to happen to him if I take him that early is I am thinking that he is going to pop off in the touchdown category. We're talking 10, 11 touchdowns. We're talking 1,200 yards. And if that's the way you want to play Brock Bowers, sure. Like, it's totally a possibility. You're looking at last year, positive touchdown regression could happen, and he could jump from 5 to 10. But also at that same point in time, you've got a guy like Ashton Genty there, and Ashton Genty could be a red zone threat. And so if you're hoping that Brock Bowers gets a couple more catches in the red zone, that might not happen. If you're looking at Ashton Genty from a between the 20s threat and Brock Bowers to be like the more of a red zone threat, then that yardage could be a little bit of a problem. So for that to work, you've got to think to yourself that Brock Bowers is a 9+ touchdown potential candidate, plus another 1,200 yard candidate, plus an 80+ receptions candidate. And for me, I feel like Trey McBride is more likely to get there than Brock Bowers. And I can get Trey McBride, almost a whole round later than I can get Brock Bowers. So I don't want to sink the opportunity cost on Brock Bowers because I think that right now let me preface this with, especially in redraft, but in best ball, I am taking him because I do want a piece of him in best ball, and I've done that over the last couple days. But also, when you think about it, your opportunity cost is really not great on Brock Bowers. If he doesn't bring that value and he has a tight end week that a typical tight end might have, you just sunk a second round pick into a player that got 10 points. Now that's not always, what's going to happen. But for Brock Bowers, you're looking for Brock Bowers to spike 20+ points every week if you're taking him, or most weeks. I'd say at least 85% of the weeks. And I just don't see Brock Bowers as a player this year that will do that. Let's look at the numbers too. Like, does Geno Smith pass to tight ends often? You had Noah Fant there that was supposed to be every year, fantasy gurus and everywhere have been talking about Noah Fant as a great, late round tight end. And Noah Fant never turned into anything. Geno Smith was not, passing the ball consistently to tight ends.
That's a chicken or an egg question, though, because Geno Fant or a Noah Fant could not get open.
Right. But the thing is, why am I going to, if Brock Bowers is open, yeah, I'm going to throw it to Brock Bowers. But if I don't have to force it to Brock Bowers to win, because, hey, I still have Jacoby Myers. Hey, now we have a run game with Ashton Genty. Genty is going to eat into Brock Bowers' value here, Bones, like you're saying. And for that value for Brock Bowers to return value, I'm just not sure that I want to take him that high. And if I do take him that high, let me be clear. If I do take him that high, I am taking Geno Smith. So I'm not doing anything crazy. And if I'm taking Brock Bowers, the player that I'm taking in the first round is probably Malik Neighbors, because there is a week 17 correlation there that is an intuitive week 17 correlation. Those defenses are going to suck. And
guys, just to give you a heads up for scheduling note, we are about to start another Superflex puppy We are each going to click the launch button at exactly 4:24. We know that there's a little bit of lag for you guys who watch us live. We know a lot of you guys want to be in the drafts with us. At 4:24,
and then we'll review
we
the
are
teams
going to
after.
click the launch button for the next Superflex.
I made a nice team there, Joe. I made a nice team there.
No, as long as the Colts give you adequate quarterback play as a starting perspective, Bob, your team can win because Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams are both your flex and super flex respectfully. They will put up just as much as a Stroud or a McCarthy, and you get better value because you get the diversity. The risk of your team is, does the Colts unit as a passing game match it? Quite frankly,
I also have two Cleveland quarterbacks. So
yes,
I'm not saying that it's like
you do have two Cleveland quarterbacks.
But hey, weirder things have happened.
Weirder things have happened.
Embrace the weird in some circumstances. All right, Joe. So
24 guys, get ready.
Rack up another one here. I'm about to click it at 424. Mine's at 423 right now. And I will keep talking about the Raiders too, because I think that they're a polarizing option for fantasy. But I think with, Jacoby, Geno, Dante Thornton, Jack Beck, I think that those players are going low enough that I'm willing to buy a couple of teams with the Raiders on it. And in Superflex, I do think that Brock Bowers, a combination of Brock Bowers and Malik Neighbors and such like that, is a combo that I want to capitalize on. And we can take a look at the Raiders schedule at the back half of the season and the Giants schedule at the back half of the season too, because I think that there is some week 15, week 16, week 17 cross correlation that's interesting. And I built a team the other day with that correlation in mind.
Have you guys ever noticed when you stare at a clock, it's the longest minute of your life?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I was doing that. I was like, wait a minute. Why
and like just staring.
So,
all right.
So just
right
to fill everybody in,
there's 5 open slots. So you guys watching, there's room for you. This is
just to fill everybody in.
The 20-second version.
This is the back half of the year for Vegas, Philly, Houston, and the Giants, and people are staying away from Vegas because they're like, well, Philly and Houston, that's crazy. Those are good defenses. But yeah, like if they want to win that game, they're going to have to step up. They're going to have to throw the ball because Philly has a great run defense. Houston has a great run defense as well. They're going to have to step up to get to that week 17 game. And you're like, well, I want to get Geno to that week 17 game. How am I going to get him there? Well, I could get him there by pairing him up with Patrick Mahomes because they play Tennessee in week 16. I could get Geno to that week 17 game if I head off and I buy into Denver, who plays Jacksonville week 16. So stacking Denver and Geno could pay off because you're getting, Denver has a game that they're going to have to fight off in week 17 against Kansas City. But that game against the Giants for Vegas is going to be an interesting matchup. Again, going into like week 16, week 17 correlations that are interesting. Cincinnati and Arizona, everybody's buying into Cincinnati and Arizona, but what if the Arizona players kind of just screw the pooch in week 16 against Atlanta and you don't get enough Arizona players to week 17? What's a nice matchup there? Well, hey, guess what? Arizona and Baltimore is an incredible matchup because Baltimore plays New England week 16. And then you have that knockout, drag-out fight that could be week 17 at Green Bay. So pairing up a player that might have a low advance rate is going to be really interesting. Joe, I see that your old screen's still up there, so make sure you put your new.
Well, the new draft hasn't started yet. As soon as the new one pops up, I'll put it
but
up.
I think that capitalizing on a nice week 16 matchup to advance your players that might have a low advance rate, like Geno, could be really interesting. So going like
that's part of what you're supposed to do is really look at the playoffs overall, and you want to have a good arc because you got to win 15, 16, and 17 to get paid. You can't just be good in them. You got to win them. So you got to make sure that you find players that are going to dominate those 3 weeks. Really, at the end of the day, we've had these conversations before about how this is almost like building a DFS lineup, but what you should be doing if you do it successfully, you should be able to build a lineup that would never be affordable in DFS, even if the budget doubled, because that's how stacked your team is. And
In a
if
way.
you do it correctly and line it up, you should be able to. There's no doubt, especially if you don't waste 3 of your top 4 picks on a quarterback.
Yeah. Here's a fun one to think about, Joe.
Here we go.
Washington plays the Giants week 15. They play. Oh, I got pick 2. Nice. This is a first. This is a first on air.
Okay, we're on other sides of the draft board.
2
Bob is
and
at
9.
2. I am at 9. I kind of like 9. I'm not bitching about it like Bob is.
So, but what I was saying, Joe, is that, like, for example, Jaden Daniels will probably
if anyone in here is watching is one of these guys, let us know. We love talking up the drafts with the live people in them.
Getting Jaden Daniels to week 17 means that Jaden Daniels has to get past week 16. So if you want to get Jaden Daniels, past there, well, maybe you build that with some Minnesota Vikings because they have the Giants. Maybe you build that with some.
Can I just side note this? Every person out there keeps saying the Giants defense is going to be bad. They're going to be a good defense. It's just do they quit because of their offense? The Giants are a sneaky bet, guys. Giants for that division got good payout. They're probably the second best team in that division. And if there's an injury, they're there. And admittedly, I'm not all in on the Jalen Daniels linear progression growth. I think he's going to step back just like Stroud did. I know that I'm a little minority like that. The problem is that Daniels is on his worst day is better than Dart.
We're in another draft. We're in another draft with Pimp Daddy, and he just took Patrick Mahomes 3rd overall.
Pimp Daddy's an idiot.
That's annoying. That's really annoying.
No, it's great. I mean, let him keep bank air in your favor, man. But why did you?
I'm 2. That doesn't help me at all. Why
did you take Lamar?
I took Jaden Daniels. I want to build a couple teams with Jaden Daniels. Like I said, I don't land at the 2 hole often, and I have a couple of Lamar teams, and I want to build Jaden Daniels. You might get Jamar again.
I didn't get Jamar the first time, but I might get Jamar here.
At pick 9. I always love seeing who falls to 9 because it's always like either Saquon, Bijan, Gibbs. Rarely
I'm taking Bijan if he's there.
It's interesting. It's interesting. Okay, Bijan, you're taking Bijan.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing here, guys,
I love Bijan, especially since I just built a. Here's why I want Bijan even more, because I love Monty, and I felt when I had Gibbs, Monty didn't fit on my team, but there's no concern with Bijan, so that's why
I like Monty and Gibbs. I don't necessarily see a problem in basketball, particularly. In Monty and Gibbs on the same team. Give me your number 1 must-have player at each position. All right. So for me,
are we just doing outright? If we had,
yeah,
we're going outright. Draft value or just outright?
Do you want PPR or half PPR, Magic?
And do you want PPR it at draft value or not?
Yeah, draft value or just overall. So do you want us to tell you our number 1 player position overall, half PPR, full PPR, or at value? Because I can rattle off a couple of names right now of guys that I really, really like.
Dude, just take a running back. Come on, let's do a little running back wall here. Oh, bro. Come on.
You want a running back wall?
I want a running back wall. I want there to be no value for you people up front.
It's getting spicy down there for you. You're in Senor Spicy territory.
Yeah. It's like we're in different zip codes.
I don't know if I like that for you very much. You
know I'm a running back whore, and I'll collect them all.
Catch them. Gotta catch them all.
That's right.
All. Running backs.
You just nailed the Pokemon song so good.
So Joey and I have been watching a lot of Pokemon. So
that was great.
Bo Nix falling.
Yeah, but overall, quarterback's not getting super pushed through the back 5 of this draft. Love that. Only 3 in those 10 picks. Love that.
Yeah. So for me, Magic, two guys that I really, really, really like. Let me just check something real quick. Two guys that I really like are Nico, obviously, and Puka. I think those two guys are insane, incredible values. When
And then
I look
Magic, my
at
number one running back is actually Bucky, but I keep getting him in the third or fourth round. So
yeah,
he's
Bucky
my
is probably
value guy.
Bucky is probably one of my favorite running backs on the board at value across every draft. I think that he has great upward potential, good coach speak. I think that Tampa Bay is probably not even going to have that much of a fall off by any respects. I think that when we look at wide receiver, like I said, at value, I really like Nico and Puka a lot, especially if you're in redraft. Full PPR is probably best for those guys as well. When we go down a little bit on the board and we look at like quarterbacks, I think one of my favorite quarterbacks to own overall is Lamar, and probably one of my favorite quarterbacks to own like at value in terms of like where you can get him is probably Bo Nix or Baker. I think that, like I said, I think that Baker you can make some nice stacks with Baker, and he's not going to cost you a lot. He's not a high opportunity cost, and he's probably going to return, probably less value than he did last year in terms of like total points, but the cost isn't too high, and you get him up right above that quarterback kind of like craziness, and you don't really have to worry about like, oh, hey, is there going to be a quarterback for me on the comeback? And I can take like some Rashad Batemans and stuff to go in with that. I really like that value. In terms of like running backs, other running backs that I really like that could add value that are really interesting. I like Kyron's value a lot. He's being drafted like in the third round, fourth round sometimes. I think that that's great value for Kyron. Similarly, I think Alvin Kamara's value has dipped so low that he's hard not to buy, especially
that is very true, Kamara.
One of my other favorite players to draft at value in most drafts is Jameson Williams. People think that for some reason, that Ben Johnson is the guy that held this team together, this is the glue for this team. And I see these players as being very competent, that they can overcome something like this. They're not one to be against development at all. I think another wide receiver that is really being kind of like slept on this year, it's a wide receiver that goes really low. Like we said before, is Chris Olave. I like him at value a lot. Let me make my pick here.
I tell you, I really like how this number 8 team's built its team here. Brock Purdy's not the end of the world. JT is his number one running back in the fourth round. That's a solid build. The one thing about this draft is there's only one guy who went 3 quarterbacks. And that is a sign that this is going to be a harder draft because of it. It's harder to sneak that value. And Bob, I feel bad for you. Finally got a hot pick, and you're not getting people being idiots giving you the extra value.
No.
That's just a run of the dice, man. Sorry about that.
That's all right. We overcome, we develop, we change.
We catch them all.
I think the thing is too, is like, I'm just trying over here at the pick 2 position to kind of get value where value's coming to me, build out my stacks, build out my potential week 17, week 15, week 16 correlations, and see as it lies. The reason I took Malik Neighbors there is that Washington gets them in week 15. And I took that Dak so that I could build out a little bit.
Are you guys watching us like falling in love with my people?
Mike Evans falling in love. Now, I usually wouldn't take Jane Daniels or Dak right there, or like Jane Daniels and Dak stacked together like that. But I think that, the value of Dak is pretty good. I'm not going for another quarterback, so I'm not taking 3 until very late, but we'll see. Puka is my guy. So if I'm, you'll see me in this draft. I took Neighbors. A lot of quarterbacks falling in here, Joe. You're going to get some good value on the comeback, maybe. Michael Penix in the
might.
fifth round.
You're right. I might go quarterback.
Like,
I like a three running back.
This way of looking at the quarterbacks is what it should be. This is what the quarterbacks should come out at. You should be able to get Jared Goff at the end of the third round. You should be able to get Jordan Love at the beginning of the fourth round. But in most drafts, people are crazy. Like, Matthew Stafford falling to the end of the fifth, I think is a tremendous, like that guy got, and here's to say, Joe, that speaks against one of the teams you built earlier. Like JJ McCarthy went 12th overall, which is crazy. This guy built JJ McCarthy, Aaron Jones, right? So they're like doing some crazy screwy stuff at this end. But they got JJ, Justin Herbert, and Matthew Stafford, which are like should be 2, 3, 4. They're losing out on a whole lot of value by taking JJ at 12th overall. I'm not quite sure why they did that.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold there. Joe got Rodgers. Say that again.
I said Herbie shouldn't have gone that high either.
I'll tell you why, Magic. I like Puka
but what
a little
that
bit
shows,
better.
what this really shows is you throw a blanket over McCarthy all the way down to the ones who are getting drafted now. They all could finish anywhere between top 10 in a week and bottom 30 in a week. There is no consistent hang on, with the exception of maybe Baker, in that group that you can say I will consistently get a top 10 performance week in and week out. Stroud is just as likely to do that as McCarthy, just as likely to do that as Herbert. And I got him in the fourth round. And what I got a stacked running back room in place of it. And this is Underdog, where running backs are more valued than quarterbacks because it's half PPR, or running receivers because it's half PPR. So I got the more valuable position, same effective pushiness at the quarterbacks. And now it's just time to start running some drag races with receivers.
Yeah, I mean, so
and if Monty still falls, I'm going to lose my mind in awesomeness.
What do you, if you get what?
Monty's still going to fall to me. I was considering taking where I took Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just got to let it play it where it lies.
That's kind of it.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Okay, we're good there. All right. So when it, against Neighbors as a skill perspective, I am concerned a bit at Russell Wilson or Jackson Dart. They're committed to getting him the ball, but in terms of like where that commitment will come, like in terms of like ability, skills and ability, I'm unsure of if Russell Wilson's the best fit for Malik Neighbors. I think that, Malik Neighbors is a talent that we've seen every so often. He's very, very capable, and he's a very good player. Russell Wilson is a goodish player as well, but like I said, I don't know if his skill sets exactly match what we want Malik Neighbors' ceiling to be, capacity and pathway to get to where he needs to go. And I think that when we look at it from like a grand scheme of things and say like, hey, what's going to be the end point for Malik Neighbors and Puka? There's a very strong likelihood that Malik Neighbors and Puka come within like 25 fantasy points of one another. And I think that that's probably going to come maybe within the, the touchdown market, right? Where what will happen within that market, I think it will be interesting to see. A lot of room clearing is happening here.
Yeah, Devontae Smith is slipping. There he goes finally. But
say that again.
Devontae Smith was on a fall. Like, people are really getting down on Devontae, and he's still one of the most talented receivers in football. Just no one sees it because they don't throw the ball enough. He is one of
DK Metcalf.
Best. He is one of the best at beating zone out.
DK Metcalf just fell like a rock.
He did, but I love what Jacoby's volume could be. I can't pass that up.
Yeah. I mean, I see it. I see it for sure. I would have loved to get Jameson Williams come back, but that wasn't going to happen. All right, we're going to take Anthony Richardson, still falling. We're going to take Tony Pollard here.
Ugh.
I almost took Chris Godwin, but I'm okay not taking him. I just saw that Jennings has some calf stuff. I don't really like bothered by calf. That's not good.
Calf is not good for this time of the year.
Not at all. It'd be nice to get a little bit of Jacob Cowling in there too, I think, for some teams a little bit later. Taking just a nice little like week 15 stack or week 15 correlation, Juwan Jennings, Tony Pollard. Now, this team, is it as strong as the last team? I mean, it has its moments. It's definitely not as elite as the running back room was on the last team. It's interesting to see here, Joe, where Anthony Richardson has fallen because of the dispersal of quarterbacks, the way that they went this draft specifically. You know, the Shooks, the Anthony Richardsons aren't going as early, which I think is interesting. You might,
there it goes right there.
Rich going in the 9th round. Again, guys, taking Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones is not for the faint of heart.
No, it's not.
You just saw the last draft we were in. Do it at your own
peril.
Do it at your own expense, at your own peril. If that's something that you want to do. I've done it. You know, I feel like a better person after doing it because I feel better.
You seen the light?
I feel lighter on my feet. You know, just being able to build that out a little bit. Oh, Chris Godwin. I was really hoping people were just soured on Chris Godwin and it's just sucking up a little bit of value there. It would have been nice. Let's see what happens here. 4 picks away. Let's see if some of my guys will get there. No. Didn't get Debo, got Terry. This might be a Ben Sinnott team, Joe.
Ooh.
This could be a spicy Ben Sinnott team. Not saying that that's a blessing, but it's possible.
Not saying it's a curse either.
We could throw Cooper Kupp on this team. That's enough of a wild card for me that could pay off. Got Jackson Smith and Jigba too. Take a late Jalen Milroe. I don't know. There's a lot of avenues here. A lot of avenues for success. I could.
Bob, of all the people you said, Cooper Kupp is by far the highest on the rankings. I know you want Mooney, but he is.
I know. I just
you were taking all the receivers, and you only have to start 2. That's the other part about this format, guys. You only have to start 2 receivers. So you see how Bob and I's are so different. I have 5 running backs and 3 receivers, and he's got 1 million receivers. And how many? 3 running backs?
2.
Oh, Tony Pollard's one of your starters. That's kind of gross.
Yeah, I mean, like again, this is a wild draft again, but I am all here for it. When we talk about Russell Wilson, though, guys, like, you know, I think the beneficiary of Russell Wilson being there is probably Theo Johnson and maybe Wan'Dale Robinson. We'll see what happens with that. But I think that if you're buying into Russell Wilson, especially in Best Ball Mania, if you're taking Russell Wilson like late or Jackson Dart late, they took your boy.
They did.
I think that there's enough. I think there's enough value for me that I am willing to take a stack of like Russell Wilson, like I was last year, of like Daniel Jones and like Slayton and a couple other guys for the Giants. But I think Theo Johnson could be a good beneficiary of Russell Wilson being there. Russell Wilson does throw the ball to tight ends decently well. When it comes to like where my tight end rankings are in terms of like who is the must value tight end at value, I like Bones' thoughts here in Evan Ingram and Hunter Henry. I think when we look at the ADP, Mark Andrews is falling a lot, guys, and Jonnu Smith is falling a lot. There's been lots of rumors about both of those being like trade candidates. I think that both Jonnu and Mark Andrews, with their fall, they're probably going to have better closing line value once we get into August. So I think buying them now, especially if you're in best ball leagues like this, I think it's a smart buy. I think it's a good purchase for those tight ends. You're going to see a lot of tight ends have a lot of value. And this is the reason why you don't want to buy Brock Bowers or Trey McBride early, because you're in this zone now where there's a bunch of random running backs that could hit, they might not hit. And
probably won't. That's why I have my 5 on my roster.
Brandon Ayuk is sitting there at pick 124. So if you need to build out a couple more things, a couple more guys, there's enough tight ends here that are serviceable enough to get you 13 points a week. And I think that's the threshold that you want to clear. You want to find a tight end who's going to be a target earner in the red zone. You want to find a tight end who's capable of getting touchdowns and call it a day. Don't go crazy and looking for something that's not there. And Jonnu, I think, is one of the biggest candidates. He went right before my pick. But I think he's one of the biggest candidates to be, to take the cake there. Again, another guy people are really, really low on is Brenton Strange. Brenton Strange in these best ball super flexes is going 172 overall on average. And we saw what he could do in the limited amount of time that he had last year. And you're saying that you're going to drop him that low again in the same Hunter Henry category. I mean, come on. Like, there is so much craziness in value that you can get at tight end that unless you're building the stack with Geno, or you're building the stack with Kyler, or you're building Trey McBride or Brock Bowers as a comeback to Malik Neighbors and Russell Wilson, or to, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, that you don't need to take them. And you say, well, like, what about George Kittle? I think George Kittle in the 4th round is the reason why you don't need to take Trey McBride in the 3rd or Brock Bowers in the 2nd. Sam Laporta in the 5th is one of the reasons why you don't need to take George Kittle in the 4th or Trey McBride in the 3rd or Brock Bowers in the 2nd. Ingram, for me, I mean, they went out there and they got Evan Ingram. They got him. I mean, they didn't have to go out there and trade for a tight end when there was tight ends available in the draft. They went out and got Evan Ingram, and he's being drafted below all the guys that I mentioned and in the same category of Andrews and Jonnu Smith. I would rather take a chance on Ingram, especially in best ball tournaments, than Brock Bowers and Trey McBride for a large quantity of my drafts, because the value is there. He's a great player. He's proven that he can spike 25-point weeks. He's proven that he can be a touchdown earner, and you're getting tremendous value where his closing line value is probably going to be a bit higher than it is right now. Hey, Ryan, what's happening? I might do another one. I don't know if Joe can fit another one in, but I'm probably going to do another one after it.
Another one, but
yeah, I'll probably wrap
right on our side to do that.
How about Kraft? Well, if Family was here, he'd tell you buy into Kraft. And I don't think that it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing to buy into Tucker Kraft, but especially in best ball. If you're in a redraft, Tucker Kraft is a little bit harder to own for me, but the value is there. Tucker Kraft has a good amount of value attached to him. Again, in Superflex best ball, Tucker Kraft went as a tight end in the 13th round. In regular best ball, he's probably going in the 9th or 10th round, probably in the 10th round. So if you've already got your quarterback situated and you built out Tucker Kraft, fine. I think that Tucker Kraft's touchdown numbers will probably retreat a little bit. But overall, where this offense is in flux, if I'm doing best ball, I'm probably taking 2 to 3. If I'm taking Jordan Love like this person did, I'm probably taking 2 to 3 Packers. I've done this before. I built a team the other day with Jordan Love, Jane Reed, Matthew Golden, and Tucker Kraft on it. You might as well just take chances. I also built Romeo Dobbs on that team. I said, screw it, going all out. So in this draft, Joe Flacco is falling all the way to the 15th round, which is...
You don't know that yet.
Super interesting to me. I don't know it yet. We saw Shedeur go 99th overall in the last draft.
The last draft was really bad. So here's another just observation. The last draft, we had 9 people who are regulars on underdraft drafters. This is a lot more civilians. And when you look at that, they're treating it a lot more like a regular draft.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, in a way, I see that. So I just took Jake Ferguson and Brenton Strange, double tight end, double tap the tight end position, get a stack with Dak potentially, get, Brenton Strange in there. I think that Brenton Strange has a good overall look for the season. I also like his, they play Indy in week 17. He might not get past Denver in week 16 for some people that built a, Trevor Lawrence stack. But I think with this team that I have right here, I can get Brenton Strange to the next round. The running back room isn't as quality as it has been in the past, but we'll build out some craziness here and see what happens.
You're getting crazy with me, Bob. There's no doubt about that.
A whole bunch of things coming out at you. I mean, again, if you're doing a lot of these, it doesn't hurt to change it up every once in a while.
Certainly doesn't.
Yeah, Ingram is definitely like a wide receiver at the tight end position. I mean, like, they're saying that this room is in flux, but let's be honest with you. The target earners in this offense right now are going to be Cortland Sutton, Evan Ingram, and, depending on what camp says, Mims or Bryant, and then your running back. I mean, I think Bo Nix is set up to have an incredible year. I think that he's surrounded by a cast of talent that will get them to the next level in terms of fantasy numbers. But in Superflex drafts, like in this one, Bo Nix went a little bit later than he normally does. So I'm okay with Bo Nix at 21 overall. Like, if I was the guy that was fourth and I got Lamar and Bo, which were both falling values, I would not have taken Drake May in the third. I would have capitalized on that falling value and taken another skill position player right there where Drake May was. Because quite honestly, how many times is Drake May going to go over Bo Nix and Lamar? Probably only during the bye week. Yeah, Ryan, for sure. Like, love to see you here. Love to see that you just found the show. And yeah, I'm going to wrap up another one after this. I know Joe usually has a stop around like 5:15.
That's part of life.
But I'll rack up another one just like I did last week.
Also join the draft with us, guys. We're all for that. Tell us which team you are when you do a draft with us. We do the 20-seconders here to kind of keep it moving so we know we can get two in time. But yeah, keep it coming.
Should this be a Zach Ertz team or a Ben Sinnott team?
I mean, considering how often you hate on when I take Sinnott,
I'll make it a Zach Ertz
team. I want you to do it.
I almost went Sinnott. I almost went Sinnott later, though. The guy I wanted just went off the board. I wanted Kareem Hunt. If Kareem Hunt was there, I would have smashed the button for Kareem Hunt. Like 1,000%.
Just keep getting quarterbacks and running backs. Just don't touch my receivers or tight ends. Because that's the only thing. Because I'm done with running back. I took running backs. I think I had all 5 of mine in the first 8 rounds. I filled my running back bucket aggressively.
You did. You aggressively filled that bucket.
I did. And my receivers are a little bit lacking. I mean, I got Ladd and Jacoby as my
That's probably going to be my last wide receiver. Didn't do anything super crazy. Would have liked to have Austin Eckler on this team. I wasn't even paying attention when he went. Probably too high for where I wanted him to go. I took Jadon Blue there. Yeah, I probably would have taken Eckler, but and to think of it too is like
Blue, Bob. Eckler went before.
Yeah, Blue. I know. If he was there, I said I would have taken him. But looking at it right here, like the team that I have constructed right now with Jane Daniels and Dak Prescott, I don't have like a mega stack. So like if that game does pop off and CD was the guy that would have won it for me, or Debo was the guy to won it for me, or Brian Robinson is the guy to won it for me, I might not win that. But knowing that I wasn't going mega stacky there and playing a little bit of the law of averages and spacing things out a little bit, I got tremendous value with Jackson Smith and Jigba. I bought up a little bit on George Pickens, got Darnell Mooney at good value, got Cooper Kupp at a good value. and got Pat Bryant at a good value as well. I think that's really nice. Again, Jake Ferguson, incredible value. Brent Strange, Zach Ertz, with the news that Ben Sinnott is doing good in camp. Everybody's down on Zach Ertz, so buying the dip on Zach Ertz, not terrible. Running back room could be better. But again, you win, you lose sometimes on that. You're 117 deep already. You are farther along than I am, Ryan. But I plan on getting there. I'm hoping that the contest doesn't close before I get there. Like, I only do it either on the show or when my son's taking a nap or sleeping. So it's like, don't have that much time in there as some people do. Slot 12 is crazy. Slot 12 here, side, when you look at it, they built out a really high, Chargers, Minnesota. They went Chargers, Minnesota, Rams. And you're good Minnesota, Rams. And there's something to say about stacking in that capacity. Crazier things have happened. But when we look at it and say, like, is that the best thing you should have done? I wouldn't have done that. But again, can you? Yeah, you can. All right, we're going to can't take another week 10. We'll take a chance here on Jordan James. Clear it up a little bit. This is the 19th round, right?
19's up right now.
All right. We're going to take Sean Tucker. I wish I would. I don't know. We'll take a back end quarterback here. We'll go with a 2.683. We'll go with maybe a 3.683. But I don't see the benefit in that. I have two pretty good quarterbacks, although they could get hurt.
I'm probably going to end up being 3.593.
3.593.
Yeah.
I might go 2.693, just as a way to go against it. Yeah, I mean, when I'm doing these, Ryan, my wife is usually using the computer herself, so it's a little bit of a benefit there for us, that when he's sleeping, we do kind of our own thing, and then some nights we do some stuff together. She doesn't mind it, but she always goes, "You're doing that again?" I'm like, "Yeah," and she's like, "Well, when are you going to win the million?" I was like, "When this contest is over."
That's right.
Again, this isn't the million contest, but it's a significant amount of money. That's
$100,000.
Life-changing for most. It'd be life-changing for most people. Most people could pay off their mortgages, buy a nice car. Oh man, I really want Valdez Scantling on this team to be gross.
Why do you want Valdez?
Oh, Valdez Scantling. I've also taken Torrey Horton as well. I've kind of sprayed the board in both of them. I might take another running back, actually, but every running back that I see that I like has a week 10 bye.
Ollie Gordon doesn't.
I just clicked him as a potentiality. Going a little weak here.
Actually, you might want to go Crosby Merritt, since you did so heavy Washington and you were a little upset that you lost Eckler. He's the natural Eckler replacement.
You're right. I could. I mean, the running back room is kind of a hodgepodge of who's.
Yeah, your running back room is just hope and pray anyway.
After Kyron. And then even with Kyron, just hope and pray Kyron stays healthy. Every time I finish a draft, I tell her it's the winner. I do the same thing. She goes, "Did you win yet?" And I was like, yeah, this one's it, honey. This one's it. And we always joke about it, but she's always like, "You're doing that again?" Usually if it's like I'm watching a movie or watching Love Island or something like that. All right, we went Crosby Merritt. Oh, dude, Pimp Daddy took your boy, Luke McCaffrey.
I like Luke McCaffrey. I like him a lot.
The
high scoring offense. So, Bob, I always like to do the review of what could I have done differently to make this team better.
I need to turn on my light. Hold on.
Where I looked at this one, the one player that got taken from me that I wish I had would have been Mike Evans, where Chuba went. I wish Mike Evans wouldn't have gotten snagged 2 picks before me. I would have liked this team more with Ladd and Evans opposed to Ladd and Myers being my top 2 receivers. But overall, I mean, I like it. I gave myself a lot of late high potential guys, and you know they look good in week 17.
Yeah, I mean, like looking at my team, like my team is definitely thin at a couple positions. But here's the thing: like you can see that like my team and number one almost in a way mirror each other because we took 2 quarterbacks really early, and then he took a quarterback round 15, and I didn't. So I just finished off with 3 dart throw running backs that I've seen Sean Tucker pull up some amazing stats in one game. If that's the guy I need, you know, especially in this running back room where I expect Pollard and Williams to start most of the time, you know, taking a shot on Tootin and Blue and James and Tucker and Krosky. I mean, is this a team that's going to make the $100,000? Could be. I got a nice little stack happening here. You know which team I know is not going to do it is team number 12. Or team number 11.
Team number 11 doesn't do it either.
Because that's a lot of quarterbacks
in the 8th round.
That's a lot of quarterbacks to take early. I mean, am I mad at Calvin Ridley? No, because he has him stacked with Cam Ward. But guess what? Almost everybody who has taken Cam Ward has stacked him with Calvin Ridley. Almost everybody that has taken Jordan Love has stacked them with Jayden Reed and Matthew Golden. So, like, where is your difference maker? And if your difference maker is Gibson McCaffrey, great. But like taking the extra Geno there and then not building and only building Jack Beck off of Geno and having your bring back be Slayton, I'm not entirely sure that was the pathway to take for that specific team. So I'm going to present my screen actually here.
Yeah, Bob, let's get it squared up here.
And Joe, switch me over to the other side. I know you know how to do that better than I do. All right, here we go.
There you go.
All right, so we're going to wrap up another one.
Awesome. It was great. Click like and subscribe, and we will be with you, or I will be with you again on Monday. Bob is going to stay with you here because he's awesome. See you guys.
And just so our area might get a little bit of a storm here. We're in that East Coast, Pittsburgh. The weather's looking kind of shitty, but I'm going to rack up another one right here, guys. We're going to go to drafts. I'm going to click in enter right now. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to enter. So when you're ready, Ryan, 3, click, confirm. All right, we're racking up another one. Put people in here. And like I said, like, you know, what I'm going to be searching for here is some week 15, week 16, week 17 value. So I'm going to on your screen, which has the schedule on it. And it's just something to think about, guys. So, you know, what we're looking at here is this week 15, 16, 17 games. Getting certain teams there probably isn't going to be that hard. So, like Buffalo, you're probably going to see a lot of Josh Allen week 17 because the schedule right here is not too bad. You know, you look at Cincinnati, you're probably going to see a lot of Cincinnati week 17. Looking at Houston, you're probably going to see a lot of Houston week 17 because, you know, Vegas and Arizona, not too terrible to go against. Who will you maybe see a little bit less of? Like I said, maybe you'll see a little less Geno. Maybe you'll see a little less Stafford. Maybe you'll see a little less of, you know, Tyler Shook as you get to Tennessee because maybe they don't play as well against the Jets. So there's a lot of different pathways to kind of look at when we're looking as we wait for 6 more people to enter into the draft. I will definitely check in for that. So you should be in this room with me here, Ryan. So as we look at it, we say, you know, there's a possibility that there are certain types of players. Like you might not get a lot of Cam Ward in week 17 because they play San Francisco and Kansas City. So having Cam Ward in the last week of the season stacked up with Ridley, those stacks might not make it there. unless they've built something else. Where's the value at for certain? Is probably going to have a difficult time getting to week 17. But if you have the right pieces, you can get him to week 17, and I think he's going to be a smash in week 17. Looking at Brian Thomas Jr., for example, Brian Thomas Jr. might have a really tough time getting past Denver. So you might not see a lot of BTJ. So you might have to carry BTJ into the last round. I know like 60% of teams had BTJ last year in the best, and it's a little bit harder to stack because, like I said, all the quarterbacks tend to go a little bit earlier than others. So, we're going to keep that in mind as we draft. The crazy thing that we've been seeing recently is Patrick Mahomes in the last couple of drafts has been going like in the top 5, which is totally skewed a lot of where the quarterback rooms are. Curious the falling value will be in this draft specifically. Like to see how we get on a team. Maybe with BTJ, I don't see Amon-Ra and BTJ combo often. I see Amon-Ra and Nico. While I get it doesn't make any sense to get that same ADP value because I think that's probably where he closes at. Brian Thomas Jr. might go up a little bit depending on builds. And like I said, carrying Brian Thomas Jr., how do we carry him to the next round to go up against Indy? I mean, Indy's defense isn't terrible, but, how do we get him there? I think that's going to be a barn burner of the game. What do we do? Well, maybe we get him with like a Patrick Mahomes, depending on where people are sitting at. Maybe we get him in with with a Joe Burrow. So a Joe Burrow BTJ is not a bad build. One person left. So if you're in the chat, haven't joined yet, please feel free to join in. These tend to look a little bit differently. They feel, and this is right now because I think they're saving a little bit of that cash for the Best Ball Mania. Let's see where we're at. Let's see where Ryan's at. Oh, Ryan, you're right next to me. Right next to me. One. Joe and I did one on where we were right next to one another. Bones, pick 4. Love it. Sir Bag Chaser, who was pick 12 this time, pick 3 this time. Really curious to see what he does. Really curious to see what he does. So, I mean, this is like pick 8. You already know what it is. I mean, pick 8. Pick 8. If I know Dusky's. I know Ryan's not going to let Jamar fall to me. So we're going to queue up a couple of these guys here, just because I know. Just because I know I want them. We'll see how it falls. We'll see what Bones does too. See, looking at Detroit's schedule, week 15, 16, 17, they have Rams, Steelers, Minnesota. Maybe that Steelers game could be a little bit tough with TJ Watt. Or not TJ Watt, with TJ Watt there. I don't know. How do we get him to that game? Probably not with overstacking, so maybe this team doesn't have a lot of overstacks. Yeah, I mean, I took Jaden. I took Jaden at 2 overall the last draft. So if Sir Bag Chaser's on Minnesota, so you're getting you've got a blessing here, Bones. You've got Sir Bag Chaser right next to you, and in the last draft he drafted the guys. So he's going to take him before Sir Bag does. He's going to take JD. I don't know. probably on real annoying to see that. Yeah, taken a couple Saquon teams. I've taken a couple Bijan teams. I've seen Gibbs fall to the though. Yeah, dude, you are in a good place soon. You've got Jane Daniels and then whatever you want. A lot of talent. Your Gibbs, though, to be honest with you, is like that week 8 bye. I like it, but I don't like it for tournaments because there's so many players that I like that have a week 8 bye. Just looking at week 8 bye, it's Arizona, it's Detroit, it's Jacksonville, it's Vegas, it's the Rams, it's Seattle, all guys that are really big time fantasy producers out that week. Huge problem. I don't know here. 2 picks away. Bo Nix. Pick one here. Christian McCaffrey. It'd been nice to get Christian McCaffrey. I'm actually going to pull up on Monroe. So usually there I'll take Derrick Henry. Usually I've taken Gentry and Puka. You guys know I love Puka a lot. But here, just get 2 weapons from Detroit. Hopefully we can pull them along. Again, like I said, that back-end schedule is interesting for Detroit. They have the Rams, the Steelers, and Minnesota. Obviously, in this draft, I'm not getting any Minnesota players with Justin with Bag Chaser there. But it builds a little bit of a different thing. Can you hear me now? Everybody good? Say in the chat if you can hear me. If you can hear me, let me know. I might have lost something. All right. I wonder. There goes Justin Herbert. All right, cool. All right. Yeah, like I said, there's like a storm trying to roll through the area. We'll see what happens. DraftKings, when we look at DraftKings, does it have a better UI than Underdog? I would say that it's most of the same. When I'm working on my phone, I do like some people like to do it on their phone, but I like to do it on the computer. And what pieces are there, and seeing how Gentry falling there. Nice. Caleb Williams. Question: knowing that quarterbacks are, do we just go with Goff here? I like the combo of that. I think that has good potential. Okay, that's interesting enough. All right. We're actually going to take. I like BTG, but I like the idea of getting 2 solid. Yeah, sorry about that, Ryan. Yeah, let me try to fix my microphone. If it comes back, let me know. Why the microphone isn't picking up. If it starts picking up, just let me know, guys. I don't want to get out of the room, start over again. And again, would have been super tempting to go interesting, I think. AJ Brown. We're going to sit on quarterbacks. I like the combo of Amon. That's nice. Big points per game. Yeah, Ryan, my Wi signal is a little bit spotty right now just because the weather is kind of shitty outside. But if there's supposed to be like wind gusts of like 20 miles per hour outside right now, but I doubt it's cloudy. So next for me yet. Dusky, I love the little pocket. Nice. I haven't seen a lot on the with your Bones, you got Daniels, Caleb, Bryce. I was going to take Bryce Young. I didn't. Sat on it. We'll see what happens. Ryan's got 2. 6 has 2, 2, 3, 3, 2. This guy's just basically building the same team again, or trying to, which is really annoying. Yeah, I'm not. Let me turn my mic off. Turn it back on. Is it better now or before? Test. That's all right. You guys know that I'm not quite an underwater robot. All right. We might take one of these guys. 2 picks away. One of them's hopefully going to come. Unless Ryan takes him. Is it good now? Is it good now? Is it good now? You know. All right, we're going to take Cam Ward here. Not my favorite quarterback to take, but again, getting him in the 5th round, super nice value. Stacking up all those players on the top side. Not stacking, but like getting talent in the off chance there. AJ Brown against, Philly's schedule is interesting. They've got Buffalo, Washington, and Vegas. I would have rather had Geno there for a week 15 kind of correlation. I'm on Raw drawing some tough competition as well. I want to pull Cam Ward through. Cam Ward could get through with that combination of players. Maybe. We'll see. Question here is, do we go running back or wide receiver? Probably wide receiver. Yeah, the strategies are different each draft, to be honest with you. Different each draft. Because as you can see, the last draft, Aaron Rodgers, Cam Ward, Sam Darnold, Geno Smith were, there wasn't a huge run on wide receiver or on quarterbacks a little bit early. There was much more spacing out. With this Sir Bag Chaser here going in a different direction, it's interesting. Let's take that. Carolina, Miami. What's Tennessee have? Okay. We're gonna go JSN. So could have went JMO there. Was thinking about it. Could have went there, but yeah, I mean, right now where I sit on this, Bones, is that when you nail down quarterback and running back, I think the position that I want to nail down early the most is running back. I have done so many teams on here that I've built 2 quarterbacks early, or I've built 3 quarterbacks early, and I've tried different things. And I think I've liked my teams the best when I get some high value running backs Whether it's 2, whether it's 3, and then positioning myself on wide receivers is pretty nice. Like this start right here is not ideal. Like Russell Wilson going early in the 6th is not ideal there. But again, like the value of getting high performing 20+ point upside positional value candidates, I don't think can be understated enough. And again, the quarterback room, you know, like Ryan's doing here, he's got Burrow and Fields and then just eating up the value in other places. I mean, that eating up the value in other places, I think is a smart way to do it. And Terry falling to you. Yeah. I mean, I just did a draft where Terry fell to me at 2, at the 2 hole for Jane Daniels. So that's a nice combo there, but that's going to be a combo that's built by a lot of different teams. So getting that diversity is going to be nice. I don't know how I'd build off that bring back for the Detroit, Tampa, Miami, Philly, and then Seattle's got Carolina. Can't get Tet. Not a huge fan of what's on the board right now. Might just go, I don't know. Let's see. Do I risk it? I think I'm going to risk it. I'm going to buy the falling value of RJ Harvey, and then we're going to risk one of these 2 guys. And as I said, you know, you got the Tet stack. That's a very common stack as well. I think where your team is like really diverse is that you didn't do DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. You might get Rome on the comeback, and you might be able to stack up each one of your quarterbacks with, you know, a wide receiver 1 candidate. But you might be able to make some back end, like, you know, you guys know on the show that like we're not huge fans of Cole Kmet, but you might be able to buy into something really interesting late with Cole Kmet. Bryce Young has some good stacking partners with Thielen and Coker. I think that's going to be a good pathway for you. And then Jane Daniels, you know, taking a late Ben Sinnott or Zach Ertz, the tight end value is there. So I am going to get one of those wide receivers that I wanted. I think I'm going to just take Ridley here. Like I said, every time Cam Ward's available, Ridley's there. A little bit weak at quarterback. Like I said, only 1 quarterback in a super flex, kind of odd, kind of weird. But as we look at it, I fully expect Gibbs and Irving to take my running back spots every week. I fully expect Amon-Ra and A.J. Brown to take my running back spots every week, or my wide receiver spots every week. And then, you know, you got JSN, Calvin Ridley, and RJ Harvey fighting for 3 positions on the team. You know, as we always say, draft like you think. You're right. You know, and everyone's different. So Sam Laporta with that owner of the J.J. McCarthy, Justin Jefferson stack with the Aaron Jones. Not bad. I really like your team, Bones. I really like getting Trey McBride there. Ashton Genty with Judkins is an interesting pairing. Both rookie running backs with some chance for explosion. Notice that the running back room has kind of dried up. As you look at your boards, Ryan and Bones, the running back room has dried up. You're seeing that the next best available players for running back are Brian Robinson, Jordan Mason, and Jalen Warren. Not sexy. That is not a sexy thing to get into right now. And here's the thing too, when you build early wide receivers in this draft, going with Rome, so you're able to stack up your 3 quarterbacks. Beautiful. Love that. I think Rome is a tremendous value in round 9 and super flexes. He should probably be going like anywhere in that 8 range. So you're getting him around later, I think, or a part of a round later, I think is good enough value there. Team 6 is cooking with Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs, Brock Purdy, Geno Smith, Jalen Hurts. I'm just going to take Shook here. Need a second quarterback. Shook is all right. I mean, I fully expect both Shook and Cam Ward to play this year. I fully expect them to put up pedestrian-ish numbers for some games, and then for other games to cook. It's really nice when you can get 3 stacks with different bye weeks, and you're not overstacking, and that's kind of the thing that I like. You know, over here with Ryan, I think Jerry Judy's a nice value where you got him. JMO, incredible pick. Love JMO. The pairing of Devin Achane and Chuba Hubbard is very underrated. Getting the nice Justin Fields stack to Garrett Wilson is super nice as well. And I think where your team is kind of varying is that you have nothing stacked up with Joe Burrow yet. You might, if you're pushing through a team with a naked Joe Burrow, could be really interesting. I wonder if I should just take TJ Hawkinson to piss off that guy in the number 2 spot. I won't. Just curious. All right, so Cam Ward shook. Could go in a lot of different directions here. It could bring up Charbonnet. I do like Debo. Pearsall, Golden. We could. I don't like Shakir at all. I think we're going to build in Ingram here. A little bit overdraft on Ingram. That's okay. Yeah, to absolutely smash, but if they do, we're going. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the wall is coming. He's taking TJ Hawkinson. This guy 118 is definitely going to be TJ Hawkinson. Trying to start a little bit of a tight end. I think that's a little high on Javonte. I'm not a huge fan of Javonte, but as you can see, like I was saying, the running back room clears up just as fast as the quarterback room. So when you look at the builds, I think it's really smart to do 2 running backs, 2 quarterbacks as your beginning round picks. So say running back first round if the value's there, or vice versa, quarterback, running back, quarterback, running back, or running back, quarterback, running back, quarterback. Just to build in some diversity there. I think it's really, you knew it, TJ Hawkinson. I mean, come on, man. This guy's building. This is the problem. He's building the same team in every single draft, or almost the same team in every single draft. And if one piece falls apart, there's nothing that's going to keep him away from, pulling in dog shit from a week-to-week basis. Could go double tight end here. Or pick 128, 137. I mean, I'm curious what he takes now. Is it Trey Harris? Darnell Mooney. Okay. I thought about Debo. I really thought about Debo. I like Debo's fall. Now, Debo's not one of my favorite players to draft. However, his smash potential is so high. The things holding him back are Brian Robinson in the red zone, Jane Daniels in the red zone. And I think that Jane Daniels and Debo are kind of negatively correlated in a way, because I think Debo's upside is where he could play, like those jet sweeps and things like that. I think that's going to be interesting to see where that comes out at. I'm going to buy a round up on Rashid. Go with Shook. I think Rashid as a 5th wide receiver isn't a bad option. Coming back around, probably going to rack up another running back. Maybe Blue. Maybe another tight end in Njoku. I've been taking a little bit too much Njoku, I think. I like Jonnu as a play against Bucky, week 17. I don't have anything for... I might have to go back to the drawing board on this one. We'll see. The pick's probably going to be Jonnu if he's still there. I'll buy the falling. Again, not too much of a fall here if he's still there when he goes. Joe Flacco going in the 11th round. I always think it's interesting to see where these back-end quarterbacks go. Jonnu goes. We're going to take Blue. We're going to buy up a little bit on Blue. Yeah, I have him. I think I have him as a keeper. Joe might have him as a keeper in our home league. We do a keeper auction league in our home leagues. And I have Saquon and Bijan on that team that I can keep one at for free, and the other one comes at auction value cost plus like 125%. I don't know if it's worth it. I might just keep somebody that's a lower cost. I like Tootin. Keon Coleman there is nice. Ryan. I think Keon Coleman, we've been talking about Keon Coleman a lot. He has really high potential. Michael Pittman, I think, again, is a good buy at the price in the 12th round. I mean, last year people were drafting him in the 5th round. He's a good price there. I love Trey Benson. Trey Benson, I think, is going to start at the end of the season. Like I said, with Blue, I'm not really sure how I feel about Blue. But again, building him on a team that's a little bit more diverse. Not sure how I feel about this team in general, but we'll see. Yeah, I think I'm going to toss Barkley back. I bought Bijan in a trade last year on draft day, so I think I'm going to toss Barkley back and buy somebody else. I traded CD last year. I can't remember what I traded CD for. We have big rosters plus IDP in our auction league, so it's wild. Like, we can keep a defensive player and we can keep a offensive player plus a random player. I'm just not sure how I feel about it. Just not sure who I want to keep. I'll have to show you guys that roster someday. Joe and I will hopefully pull it up. We'll take Bigsby. Hate Tank Bigsby. You guys know that. But again, it's a possibility that he plays. It's a possibility he can be as efficient as he was last season, to a small degree. If they did a Superflex weekly winners, quarterbacks would be the first 2 rounds. I mean, let's face it. Like, and here's the thing too. Like, if they did a Superflex weekly winners, I think Lamar, Josh Allen would win it to you every week. Because Lamar is probably not going to win it for you every week, but I think Lamar is one of those players that you have to. It's great to build around in weekly winners. Like, you can build a nice Baltimore stack. I think that the stack for taking a bunch of week 8 guys, so that if you do all those week 8 guys, you can build yourself a monster team and just miss out on value in week 8. I mean, let's face it, that's not the end of the world, you know. All right, we're going to go to here. Get a second tight end. I like Evan Ingram and Dallas Goedert. I think they have potential for big spike weeks. This is a different team than I drafted last time. It's pretty balanced, 2-5-5-2. Do I like the back end of this running back room so much? No. Do I take RJ Harvey a lot? No. But it's willing to sprinkle him in at value. The Jaguars running back room is super ambiguous, and I feel like there's a couple dart throws in there. Yeah, I mean, like, look at it. Like, and that's the case for everything, right? Like, if I can get a little bit of shares of Tootin like I did last time and a little bit of shares of Tank Bigsby, if one of them pop off, again, you're not losing out on much, because where Tootin and Bigsby are going is where, and this is true about Best Ball Mania too, and this is true about DraftKings as well. Where Bajal Tootin and Tank Bigsby are going is basically where all these tight ends are going. So, like, I think the play is this. So, like, if you want to tackle this running back room of the Jaguars and you don't want to take ETN, taking Tootin and Bigsby when everybody else is taking their tight ends, this would probably be a team that you would build with a Trey McBride or a Brock Bowers. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of the Brock Bowers, Trey McBride at cost, but it does open up some value in other places. So, like, while you see it right here where Ryan's at, like, Ryan took George Kittle. Bones, you took Trey McBride. You bought into Colson Loveland, which is great. You bought Trey Harris before that guy. Nice. Love that. He's got a little bit of the he's got the Atlanta stack happening. He's got a Penix, Mooney, Algier, Pitts, Ray Clark. He's going too much. I think this guy's reading the wrong articles. He's overstacking. That's going to kill him in the long run. But what Ryan did here is nice. Also taking Dalton Kincaid in there, but buying into 2 other running backs that have a chance to pay off. or no, Ryan didn't buy into tight end. He bought into those wide receivers because he already has a really solid tight end. And then taking a back end tight end like in the Brenton Strange category is awesome. Oh, it's worth it though. It's worth it to snipe him because Trey Harris falling to 165. That's not where his closing line value is going to be. His closing line value is going to be much higher. Much, much, much higher. We'll take Tillman here. So we're sitting at 2,562. With Joe not in the room, I do have a chance to take Tillman. I'd like to get a couple of other players here. I don't really have any good correlation so far. Some player stacks, but I don't know. We can line up Chig. I like Gunnar Helm as well as a late round play against everybody who's taking Chig and Calvin Ridley. You know, creations. I'm probably going to call it a day after this draft because my son just woke up. My wife just went up there. Yeah, Trey Harris has been falling a lot. Check that closing line value on Trey Harris. You're gonna get good value on him right now. I think he's going to be the lowest that he's going to be right now. I can go Chig or Jawan as a play there. I think I'm going to get something different here. Buy a little bit. We'll buy some Will Shipley. I have a lot of shares in Will Shipley. Not a huge fan of having that many shares in Shipley, but if the narrative for Saquon, you want to push it, that he's not going to play, that's fine. I like the teams that are being made. The Quentin Johnston pick, I think, is a tremendous pick. Add value. If he hits, he hits. If he doesn't, you didn't lose anything. Like, look at the players that he's going around. Any of these guys can be a zero, honestly. Taking 3 tight ends in the back end here is nice, especially in Superflex. This is like getting Njoku, Gesicki, and Juwan Johnson is the reason to not go and get Trey McBride. Again, Trey McBride will pop off for 20 points, but can any of those 3 pop off for 20 points? Yeah. Less so Juwan Johnson and Gesicki, but they can. I think Fannon's a great pick somewhere in this category here in the 19th round. Mike Williams, again, getting that Jalen Naylor, Mike Williams. This guy loves Minnesota. I mean, there is something to say about just going after your guys. But full like rounds above ADP is wild. All right. Let's just Jets. Yeah, I should put a little bit of that in there. Yeah. Hollywood Brown falling isn't the worst thing in the world, to be honest with you. I mean, he's not, especially in best ball. Like, think of this like not as a redraft. You know, like if he plays, he's going to have some pretty nice value. If he doesn't, you already have, especially, and this is the thing too, Bones, in this Superflex, you're starting a quarterback, a Superflex, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a flex, and a tight end. So if he smacks, again, like it's really nothing to be a problem with. I love Pierce there. So I took Chig, not going to take Helm. That tight end room is all right. The wide receiver room is okay. The running back room is okay as well. The quarterback room suffers. When some of those things happen, the quarterback room suffers. I might take a late round Jameis, late round Malik Willis. Might take a late round Kenny Pickett. Maybe Kirk Cousins strikes some gold. We'll see. We're round 18 right now. And again, guys, if you're just joining in, we do drafts every Monday and Wednesday, starting at 3:45. Joe normally pops off at about 5:15. I normally stay on a little bit later. But we're going to be doing these all throughout the summer. And I'll probably see some of you guys in some of these drafts. So I'll keep my eye on your name, Bones, and Ryan. I love the Dylan Sampson pick. Dylan Sampson has like starter potential. All right. We're going to take Coker here. Coker has a little bit of correlation with some of the guys that I have for week 15. Absolutely, Ryan. And I think on Monday we might click into weekly winners, which I love doing weekly winners. I wish there was like either a higher contest or a lower contest for the weekly winners as well. You know, either put it at 20 or put it at 5, 10. You know, it is what it is. All right, so 2, 6, 7, 3 happening here. We've got 2 rounds left. One of these is going to be a quarterback probably for me. I think I'm going to take another wide receiver 2. Going to go off the map. I was going to take Emmanuel Wilson at running back, but I think this is enough. 3, back end guys is enough to cover for the 3 front end guys. And then the question is, which quarterback do we stake our claim to? I have a little bit of Kenny Pickett. Where do we see some correlation at? Maybe with that Cedric Tillman play. Take a Tanner McKee if Jalen Hurts were to go down. Honestly, Kirk Cousins probably goes there if that's the case. There's a lot of weird names on the board, and I think that going off of ADP here is probably not the smartest thing to do. I think capturing some guys that aren't being drafted often, like Ty Felton, like Restrepo. I could have went Restrepo there, didn't. Even like, I know it's gross to say, but if you have Cam Ward and you're looking for a winning stack, that winning stacks might not be Calvin Ridley and Chig. It could be Treylon Burks. Do I like Treylon Burks? No. Do I think Treylon Burks is a good player? No. But like, would I rather have him over guys that everybody's taking? Yeah, probably. I mean, Deshaun Vele is in a crowded room now, but he performed well enough last year as a slot guy. Will that happen again? Will Evan Ingram take his, position? It's possible. Usually here I take Mariota. I love Roman Wilson there, Ryan. Looking at your team here, I think you have a pretty solid team. After this draft, I'm going to go in and show you some of the drafts that I did on Tuesday, and we can review what we got here too. I think that our viewers here and Bones and Ryan are building super solid teams. This room was nice enough with quarterbacks to a degree if you wanted to take the gamble like you guys did. I didn't show just to show something different like I did last time. Waited on quarterback, build something else. All right. And like I said, I think Thornton's value right here, Thornton and Tucker, is so interesting. We're going to buy Bub Means. And the reason for Bub Means, is just think about it. You go in, if you're drafting Shook, you probably have Olave, you probably have Shaheed. Do you want to buy into another wide receiver? There's room. There's room in that. There's room in there to grow. It's a very gross team I built, but if one of the 3 of us, I hope one of the 3 of us makes it out. Whether it's Ryan, Bones, or myself, I hope one of the 3 of us breaks it out. I mean, like, I think that all 3 of our teams have a really, really realistic shot to get out of this pod. Any pod with Sir Bag Chaser, we have a chance to move out of it. Audric Estime, okay. Devin Neal, I like that play. I like that play a lot more when Cam Akers wasn't there, and I like that play a lot more. Also, here's the thing, guys, that I like about the Superflex a lot is that this is 20 rounds. So just like on DraftKings, the regular Millie draft on DraftKings is 20 rounds. This draft is 20 rounds as well. Regular Best Ball Mania is only 18 rounds. So you get 2 extra positions to build into. So you can either build more wide receivers, more running backs, more quarterbacks, or 4 tight ends. I don't think that, the way to go through it is great with 4 tight ends, but it's possible. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate it, Bones. Each draft is different. So like I love this back end here, Bones, of Brashard Smith and Devin Neal. These two guys could pay off. I mean, thinking about narratives, people are so low on Alvin Kamara that Alvin Kamara is going, is in Superflex in the 6th round. In regular Best Ball Mania, he's going 6th, 7th round as well. So his value is pretty much the same everywhere. If you don't buy into Alvin Kamara, why not buy into Akers or Devin Neal? Especially a guy like Akers or Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Like those two guys aren't getting drafted. So like the next time I put in one, if I'm thinking about drafting Devin Neal, maybe I draft Akers instead. Maybe he's the piece that you need. Here, unlyrically lyrics to Cam Akers. He could be the piece. Kamara is old as dirt. He will pop off for one game. And if I'm buying Kamara, I'm mainly buying Kamara on DraftKings. Full PPR, I think for Kamara is nice. But one of the things about Shook is, news has said that like he's not really passes to the running backs too often. He's better suited for guys like Shaheed and Olave. So will that pay off? I don't know. I think that all of the teams that were constructed here have legitimately good chance. Like if you look here at Ryan's team, wide receiver room of Garrett Wilson, J-Mo. Those two guys are probably hitting your lineups most of the time. Jerry Jeudy to back that up with some really nice dart throws here. And Johnston, Leggett, Mims, Coleman, all guys that if they get over 3 receptions, they have a chance to pop off for 18 points. The question is, will those guys get 3 receptions? They could, absolutely. Mason Taylor is a nice play off of Fields. I think people are building a lot of Mason Taylor, Garrett Wilson. I think the play, if you're building Fields, because everybody knows Fields is most likely passing to Wilson, I think the play against that would be taking a Michael Corley in the last round. Like you took Jermaine Burton. Nobody's taking Jermaine Burton. Everybody's taking Yoshi Voss. If Jermaine Burton gets his act together, that's a nice play off of Burrow. I mean, it's not the best play, right? But it's like it's a play. And being super high on Garrett Wilson, I have no problem with it. If Joe was still here, Joe would complain about it. But like Garrett Wilson here in the 4th round in Superflex, that 2nd round value you're getting down here. You popped off with, Ryan popped off with Devon A-Chain, who's a 2nd round back as well. Getting 2 2nd round players plus your quarterbacks, great. And then Bones here, you got Tet and McMillan to go along with your quarterback situation. Tet, McMillan, Terry, Tet, Rome, Ricky, Matthew Golden. I think Matthew Golden will be an elite option. I love that a lot. Trey. And again, like you can overstack. I'm going to show you a team where I overstack. And, this is going to look a lot like Sir Bags. Yeah, I am super high on him as well. So I'm going to show you a couple of the teams that I did do. So let me refresh my screen here because we're probably up to 39-40 now. So I'm going to show you a super stack team. So not saying that the team is good, but it's an approach that you can take if you want to do it. So these are the teams that we just did on the air. Where's the team at? All right. So this team we did on the air as well. So we're going to go down to this one. So this one is a super gross team, guys. But again, what I want to bring to your attention is that all of these teams have a chance of winning, but like giving yourself, where is your edge against the high profile teams? So this is a team that I drafted last night, and you're going to look at it and you're going to say, this is a weird team. So you go to QB even when it's super flex with buys. You don't have to. So like here's the thing to say, and I'm going to take a look at this team as an example, right? Is that typically speaking, people will want to fill their super flex with a quarterback because a quarterback is the guy on the field that can reliably get you past 20 points. And 20 points in the super flex spot is probably what you're going to need every single week. There's been research by this. I think like Pete Overzet has some articles about it as well. But when you look at what you need, it doesn't make any sense to take a quarterback when there is another player there at a skill position that can spike you into the 30s as well. Example, CJ Stroud is a guy that we take a lot, but you're going to have to sacrifice CJ Stroud to take Jonathan Taylor. to take, we'll just go to this draft as an example, and then I'll show you the team. So you're looking here, CJ Stroud went in the 4th round. So again, every draft is different. So people are getting value in different places. So CJ Stroud here went in the 4th round to the guy with Baker Mayfield. Uncorrelated. I believe he built a Jaden Higgins a little bit later, maybe not. But who's going to score more points, Brock Bowers or CJ Stroud on a weekly basis? Well, there's people in the community, ourselves included, that think CJ Stroud's going to have a bounce back year, but is that the right spot for CJ Stroud? You see Trey McBride here falling to 42. So this is the draft I did yesterday. You can see this is another draft where I didn't take quarterback early. But when you look at this lineup, you've got Jameer, Ashton Genty, Bucky Irving. I fully expect Gibbs, Genty, and Irving, except on the week 8 bye, to be hitting my flex spot at the very minimum. Brock Bowers, tight end, right? You come down, T. Higgins and Mike Evans, while they're not the most elite of elite options, they're definitely there. Russell Wilson is a quarterback that's going to be facing Vegas in week 17. So Russell Wilson bringing a little bit of a get back to Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers, right? It's nasty, but you soak up value where the value is at. Would this team be any better with Bryce Young? Maybe. Maybe it will be. But I have seen so many teams that have Bryce Young and Jane Daniels that Bryce Young by himself, I'm not sure if I want to take Bryce Young just by himself, right? So then coming back around, get Olave to go with Shook, Tyrone Tracy to build off of Russell Wilson, Michael Pittman, Shaheed, Burden, and Tillman, and Wandale as a wide receiver bevy of guys that could take you to the next level. But look at this, all these week 11 buys. So, especially when we think about weekly winners, week 11, week 8, week 9 have some tremendous talents. And then getting some back-end tight ends. Theo Johnson, Brenton Strange, there's value there to be soaked up. So while this team isn't my best team, should this team be competitive? The running backs, I don't often see people building Gibbs, Genty, and Bucky. So if I need to sacrifice CJ Stroud to do that, is that the right strategy? Well, it's a strategy, right? Will Tyler Shook or Russell Wilson, if they're on the field, put up just as many numbers as CJ Stroud? Probably. But I'm soaking in that value there because where I took Russell Wilson and Tyler Shook, they're taking DeAndre Swift and Quinshon Judkins. Could those guys pay off? Absolutely. Do I feel more confident in these 3 guys paying off? Absolutely. So that's one way of going about it. Let's pull up another one I did yesterday as well. This is the opposite of that strategy, right? Well, not the opposite, but an opposite to the strategy. So this is a team sitting in the 7 hole. And you see here, somebody built, here, this is for Ryan. Ryan, take a look at this. This guy built Joe Burrow and Fields and Dak. He got Chase Brown. He got Garrett Wilson. Picked up Rome a little bit as well. So there's some differences there, getting Gesicki as well and Mason Taylor. So this team, if it advances, is going to have some really strong correlations to what you have. So what is the factor that's going to set your team apart, right? So that's what I've been looking at recently is what's the factor that's going to set my team apart. So here in this draft that I did yesterday, we did Bijan and Derrick Henry start, and I was lucky enough to get 3 quarterbacks coming on the comeback. Geno Smith here in the 5th round, Bryce Young, Jordan Love. So again, like I said, that Bryce Young owner on the other side had one of these powerful quarterbacks, so I need to offset that with my 2 running backs at the top here. Coming around, getting Chuba in the 6th, but my wide receiver room is a little bit weaker. I went with the Jane Reed, Matthew Golden stack that most people that are building Jordan Love are building, but those people are also probably not building Devonta Smith and Jacoby Myers. You come in, you see where that soaked up value is at. I get them right around ADP. I get Cooper Kupp right around ADP. Bought a little bit high on Tillman. Bought Thielen to go along with Bryce Young. Again, you took Bryce Young there, Bones. and it's a team that has a chance to win. Back end tight ends, right? Tucker Kraft, Theo Johnson, Terrence Ferguson. I usually like to take, if I'm taking 2 or 3 quarterbacks, I usually like to take their tight ends as well, because I think that's where the money is at there. This is another one I did yesterday. And this one's a little bit different, but again, with the elite running back start. So this one is super gross. Like when we talk about disgusting things that you're going to see in Superflex, this goes against like all Superflex laws and rules. But here's the thing that I want to say is that guys like Aaron Rodgers were being drafted in the 10th, 11th round prior to the trade. So I'm trying to get some closing line value on other guys. Aaron Rodgers is going to be on a team as the 4th quarterback, and that team's going to have some stacked up people because they waited for Aaron Rodgers. Taking Aaron Rodgers now, I've done it, is probably not going to present me with that much value. You get scared, though, because, you want to take him. But Aaron Rodgers here fell to the 6th. Look at these 5 quarterbacks in the 5th. I'm okay with those 5 quarterbacks. Bryce Young falling to the 5th round. Coming up to the one we just did, I'm going to show you that team in a minute. But here, I took Bryce Young in the 4th. So that person has just gained a 1 player advantage over me in that capacity. So like, where am I going? Where is my chance to win against guys like that, right? So in this draft, sunken ship kind of draft, Saquon, Genty, Bucky, Taylor. I can't pass up Taylor to go for Stafford, right? I fully expect Saquon, if they're all healthy, I fully expect every week except week 9 for Saquon, Genty, Bucky, and Jonathan Taylor to be hitting my flex or super flex position. All right. Taking George Kittle on a team that doesn't have Brock Purdy, I like it. Cam Ward, Ridley, again, am I getting an advantage there? Absolutely not. Took Anthony Richardson, wild card, might not play, might play. Then taking Jacoby Myers, Josh Downs to go with Richardson, Pittman to go with Richardson. Nobody's doing that because they don't believe in Anthony Richardson. Do I believe in them? It is what it is. Soaking up some value on Mark Andrews, right? And then I also took Alec Pierce. Is that something that I want to continue to do? And then this one I took Gunnar Helm as the back end for Cam Ward. Is this something that I always wanted to do? No. But getting a little bit of Pat Bryant, a little bit of Kyle Williams, am I in trouble? Potentially. Too much. It's too much. Like I said about the drafter that was drafting Minnesota guys. This is too much Indianapolis, but the cost is right. The cost is right for Indy right now. Like you're going, and again, AR, if AR plays, if Danny Dimes plays, both of those guys have the potential to pop off for 20 plus points. Let's just look this up just to kind of like verify this, right? Just going on Fantasy Pros right now and taking a look at the game logs for Danny Dimes. Last year, before he got hurt, Danny Dimes had a 24-point game, a 22-point game, and some crappy games, right? Back in 2023, he had week 2 as the overall quarterback 1. Overall quarterback 1, guys. And Anthony Richardson has done that too. Now, do I want some exposure to both of them? Yeah, I do. Am I taking them as often as other people? Probably. But again, like, you're going to be facing people, and this is something that we talk about all the time. So how many teams do I have right now? So creation, like I said, I'm doing these when my son's sleeping, and then after spending time with my wife, I'm up to 39. By next week, I hope to be up to like 60. But like here, just showing you an example. This is my first Superflex team that I did. And feel free to put your Superflex, your first one in the chat too. Ryan's up there in the hundreds. So he's been hammering these. I hope to get up there as well. So this is my first one. This is the first one we ever did. And the running back room is gross. But here on this team, we were able to get Cam Ward. We were able to get Cam Ward down here in the 5th round, Aaron Rodgers down in the 6th round. And this is a team that has Nico and Garrett Wilson to go with Fields, DK to go with Rodgers, Calvin Ridley to go with Cam Ward. And our running back room is basically hitting hopers, a couple of stacked tight ends, and then, basically some other stuff happening there. If we go to like one in the mid-range here, 107. Okay, 107. If we go to a mid-range one here, this is another one drafting from the 9. I get a lot of 9s. This is one buying into the quarterbacks, right? So I got Jahmyr Gibbs, Bucky, Kyler Murray, Penix. This is an early buy on Penix. I wasn't able to get Drake London because there was a little bit of disparity in the cost of Drake London. Drake London went in the 3rd here. Usually he's going down typically in the 4th and 5th. Buying a little bit of value in certain players there. Again, this room looks a lot different than teams that we've constructed recently. Pulling up another one here. I want to get that. Where's that Baker team? All right. So here's one where we went early quarterback, and then some fill-ins of some back-end quarterbacks at the very end. So we took Joe Burrow 6 overall, Derrick Henry, JT, Neighbors, Higgins, Evans, Connor, taking Shook and Jackson Dart in the middle rounds there, like that, with Jacoby, Evan Ingram, Njoku, and then some back-end guys here, taking a back-end Winston in case, week 17 he's in playing with Neighbors. So like every draft, like we've been saying, is going to be different. And you guys have seen that so many times. This one built a little bit of stack in. We did one the other day where I ended up going full hog into Kansas City. This is another one that could hit. This went with 4 quarterbacks as well. We were sitting here at the 8-hole Justin Fields, Drake May. So again, we saw Justin Fields paired with other players as well. And then we went 4 straight running backs, buying out some other wide receivers here. As you can see, Evan Ingram is there a lot. If we go down to the completed drafts and we take a look at the exposures for this tournament right now, again, exposure isn't everything, but it's nice to get a little bit of everything. It doesn't tell you, the reason why I say exposure is not everything is that it doesn't tell you what draft these people are on. So like you could have 40% drafted of Bucky out of 39 drafts like I have, but he's not paired with JT, right? Something like that. So this is my exposure so far on quarterbacks. You can see out of the 39 I did, I'm the most exposed on Mariota and Kyler Murray and Shook, because Shook's closing line value, if he gets the starting position, okay, the thing is that, he's too old, right? Shook's too old. But he has an ADP right now of 90. Okay. If he gets the job in camp, right? And he looks good, like real good in camp, and he's having a connection with Olave or Shaheed, his closing line value is going to climb. If he looks like shit, he's not going to fall in. He's going to be right around the same thing. So capturing the closing line value on a guy like Tyler Shook, buying shares of Marcus Mariota. If you are not in the top 4 and you're not drafting a lot of Jaden Daniels, buying Mariota makes sense, because if Jaden Daniels gets hurt, Mariota has the profile to fit in really well with him. He performed well last year. I have some Kyler Murray, 23%, and everybody else I'm pretty much 13% on or less. Even get a little bit of Spencer Rattler in there. I have a little bit of Gardner Minshew in there. I think that Gardner Minshew's, if Patrick Mahomes goes down, why not, right? And Jane Daniels, again, is my Jane Daniels and Lamar. Because I don't get the top spot often, you're going to see my exposures to Allen, maybe a little. Josh Allen's at $10. Lamar's at $5, and Jane Daniels is at $5, because I never get the top 3 spots. Rarely, right? Rarely. I think just being drafted where I'm drafting at, I'm getting a lot of exposure to these other guys, which is nice. Cam Ward, I'm up to 15 on. So, 3 drafts on Cam. Drake May, I'm on 4. My highest owned running backs, like I've said, I practice what I preach sometimes there. The highest owned running backs, Bucky and Tracy. So JT is up there as well. Let me Superflex exposures, running back. Okay. So you have Bucky and Tyrone. I can't pass on Bucky in the 3rd or 4th round. Yeah, Murray's your highest owned QB. Yeah, he's my 3rd highest owned. I think at value, I think he's a good enough value. I know a lot of people are down on him, and I think that his value could fall. My highest owned player is Cedric Tillman. Got 105 bucks invested in Cedric Tillman so far. Again, if Cedric Tillman sucks, he sucks. But getting him where you can get him right now, he could climb. He could climb as well. Jacoby Myers also, depending on what camp news looks like. I'm high on Will Shipley just because if things don't go well for Barkley, you have a player that's set into a role. Maybe you take a little bit of back end AJ Dillon, right? And here's the wide receiver map. You can see a little bit high. Again, buy into Calvin Ridley a lot. That value is great. Jacoby Myers is great. Nico's value is great. Love getting a little bit of Godwin. I think Alec Pierce is so interesting. Alec Pierce has diabolical value right now. Do you expect touchdown regression? Sure. Like only a 40 reception earner, typically only 2 touchdowns. I mean, somewhere in between, maybe 5. If he pops, right? Guys I don't have a lot of. These are the guys I don't have a lot of right now. I want to get a little bit more of Brian Thomas Jr. when the team is right. I have a little bit of DK, maybe get a little bit more. And you guys were curious about tight ends too. Having a ton of Tillman is smart. I mean, like you look at it and say, in the small sample size that we have, he played well. He's going that he could be your 4th wide receiver if you wait on wide receiver, your 5th wide receiver, your 6th wide receiver, your 7th wide receiver, depending on what you do at wide receiver, to the moon. And then here's my highest owned tight ends. Like I said to you guys earlier, I love Bretton Strange at value. I mean, yeah. Did he perform adequately last year? Yeah. Did he fall off the map in some games? Yeah. But ADP 172 for a tight end that gets 40 receptions. Like, let's look at this. Pat Freiermuth is going 10 spots higher than him. 65 receptions, 7 touchdowns. 40 receptions, 2 touchdowns, right? Njoku, he's got 64, 81, 58, and he's going ADP 139. Will Harold Fannin potentially take his job? Sure. Draft both. I've drafted both. I have pretty much even odds on both of them to be successful. You can see I got 20 bucks on Gunnar Helm. Sure, 10%. Again, only 39 teams drafted. Guys, I've got Mason Taylor, got a little bit of Kelsey, a little bit of Gadsden when I have Herbert, 1 share of Brock Bowers. And here's a sneaky share. If you're building Drake May, don't buy Hunter Henry. Buy Austin Hooper. Austin Hooper, just as likely to catch a touchdown as Hunter Henry is. Why not? And we talked on air a couple weeks ago about a guy like Taysom Hill. Do I think Taysom Hill is going to pop off? No, I don't. I think he could retire. He's like 40 years old. But he has a good week. You have Tyler Shook. Why not take him? You don't have Tyler Shook. Take him again, right? A little bit of Trey McBride in there as well. Dallas Goedert, again, high owned. I think he has a good chance. And then, with me taking Russell Wilson or Jackson Dart, building some Theo Johnson in there. Like, look at this. Like, if Russell Wilson plays, again, the systems are different. But if Russell Wilson plays, here's Pat Freiermuth's numbers from last year. Here's Theo Johnson's numbers from last year. If that turns into Russell Wilson numbers, you're getting a 212 ADP guy that could put up those numbers, which are in the vein of top 10 tight ends for a week. You're getting tremendous value, guys. Tremendous value. All right, guys, we're going to go for today. It's been nice talking to everybody. Put a like, put a follow, give us a like, give us a follow. We're definitely going to be doing another draft come Monday and Wednesday, 3:45 Eastern. We are going to probably cook up a weekly winners on Monday and go back to Superflex here on Wednesday. So thanks for sticking around. Remember to click like, follow, subscribe. We'll be with you next week, 3:45 Eastern Standard Time, Monday and Wednesday. We appreciate the love. Thanks, guys.